Hello everyone, Rob Guest from football.london here, and welcome to the latest episode of Gold Guest Talk Tottenham, sponsored by NordVPN. Joining me today, it's Lee Wilmot. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Guesty. Stepping into the breach because Ali's. Well, it's not really a holiday, is it? He's got a few days off, a few loo days that he's racked up over the year that he needs to take. And what better time to do it than when we're all really busy and could really do with him being here doing lots of content just before Christmas. He's decided to take some off, but I allowed him to take it off, so it's my fault, really, isn't it?
It is. Well, at least you're here and we've got something positive to talk about this week. I mean, I mentioned it on the last episode. Hopefully, we'd be back on Monday, a more upbeat podcast. And Spurs, big win yesterday at St Mary's, winning 5-0 against Southampton. I mean, when you're on a bad run of form, Saints are probably the team you want to be coming up against. I mean, you've got to be a bad team to lose against them. And unfortunately, I know a team who's already lost twice against them this season.
But I wonder who you could be talking about.
But brilliant night for Spurs. And I think the way it was going initially, you're thinking, this might be another 9-0 defeat for Southampton here.
Yeah, I did. So first of all, before the match started, my wife always talks about what her expectations are and this, that, and the other for matches. And I actually said, well, there should be a perfect team for Spurs to play because of the way Southampton's set up and the way they like to play football. They like to play out from the back. They make mistakes playing out from the back. I said it should be perfect for Spurs to really get at them, get in their face, and score a few goals. And then by the time we'd gone 2-0 up in 10 minutes. I turned around again and I said, we should be going for the record here. We should be going for 10. No one's ever done 10 in the Premier League. I want 10 now. But yeah, unfortunately, we didn't keep our foot on the pedal in the second half, but that's to be expected, I think, with big games coming up on Thursday and then next weekend as well.
Yeah, it's always the case, though, isn't it? When a team has a really good lead at half-time, just seems to take the foot off the pedal a bit. But credit to Southampton, I thought they were a lot better in the second half, but they were dreadful in that first 45 minutes. And as I said, really the perfect opponents for Spurs. And I mean, coming off the back of a 1-1 draw against Rangers in the Europa League on Thursday night, Spurs weren't great at all for long periods of that game and could quite easily have lost that if it wasn't for those heroics from Fraser Forster at the end. But there wasn't a lot Ange could really do in terms of his team for this game because Yves Bissouma and Rodrigo Bentancur, who played at Ibrox on Thursday, were both suspended. Romero and Van der Ven still out injured. Davis, Richarlison, Wilson Odegaard out. And it just, the extent of Tottenham's injuries and the suspension issues was pretty much laid bare last night because there was about 6 kids on the bench. Lucas Bergvall handed his first Premier League start, and Djed Spence as well, almost 30 months on from his move from Middlesbrough. First Premier League start for Tottenham, or first start for Tottenham, for that matter.
Yeah, it was. That's incredible, really, isn't it? Considering when he signed for yesterday to be his first start for the club, I was delighted. I was delighted with the team sheet when I saw it to see Jed given a chance at right back, and then. Well, yeah, he had to move later on in the match, didn't he? Because of Destiny Udogie's injury, and seeing Bergvall as well. I thought that he's only had 10 minutes here and there against, it was Bournemouth and Chelsea, wasn't it? Lucas Bergvall came on for the last few minutes in each game. And I thought he looked bright when he came on in both of those games, dropping deep, trying to take the ball from the defenders, trying to move the ball forward whenever he could. And yeah, I've just started to see him start to come into his own. I think he's a young lad and is kind of perhaps a lot of expectation on his shoulders. Barcelona are interested in him, obviously. Tottenham beat Barcelona to his sign. He's supposed to be the next big thing from Europe that Spurs have got on their hands. And it's had to kind of bide his time and wait a little bit. But yeah, I thought he was really good. I thought he was really good in those 2 cameo appearances in the last 2 games. And yeah, really pleased to see him start the game yesterday. And I think he was excellent in that midfield. Most of the team were excellent, obviously, in a 5-0 win. But yeah, Lucas Bergvall, Djed Spence, I think, proving to Ange Postecoglou what they can do and showing that they're kind of worthy of their places moving forward as well, I think.
Yeah, very much. I mean, in terms of Spence now, he's like maybe even made himself a bit of an undroppable for Thursday night after that performance. Like how can you drop him? But that'll all become clear over the coming days. And then you've now got the decision as well. Steve Bissouma come back in instead of Lucas Bergvall against Manchester United. It's a nice dilemma to have, to be honest, because of the past few weeks, Ange has literally, he knows his team going into games just because there's that real lack of options. But no, I thought Spence was fantastic. Bergvall, very good. And Archie Gray, steady at the back, didn't really have that much to do at the back, with Saints not really threatening. And I was actually listening to the TNT coverage before the game, and Aaron Ramsdale, the Southampton goalkeeper, was speaking, and he mentioned that every game's an opportunity for Southampton, but with Archie Gray coming into the team in the Premier League, early second start for Tottenham, Djed Spence coming in from the cold, maybe an opportunity for Saints to get at Spurs and capitalise on that and win. And 37 seconds on the clock, Djed Spence going on this marauding run, and James Maddison scoring the opener. The perfect response.
I did say to my family, actually, I wonder if Aaron Ramsdale's still working at half time, or if he's decided to shoot off. It was quite the game to have a current Southampton player in the as a pundit, wasn't it? Really, but yeah, 30 seconds in, Djed Spence just turns his man on halfway, strides forward, and plays a lovely ball through for James Maddison. That really was the start of someone who had a point to prove, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. But this is exactly what Jed's done previously when he's been on loan at Nottingham Forest, when he was playing for Middlesbrough as well. That run just typified Jed being in a advanced position, and then just turning Flynn down and just keep going and keep going. I mean, the run was brilliant. The pass was outstanding with the outside of his bill, and it's really tidy finish as well from James Maddison. But there's been a number of games this season when I think Spence has played really well. Coventry, Manchester United as well, when he came on in the second half. But the minutes haven't really followed for him in the games after those appearances, and the Europa League admission's not helped his cause one bit. And I think going into the Southampton game, there was always a case of it's going to have to be a time when you're going to have to rest Pedro Porro. So he can't keep playing 2 games a week. And so it just seemed like the perfect time for Djed Spence to come in. And, that was exactly what he needed to do on his full Tottenham debut. First start, absolutely incredible. 30 months on, like we said, from joining the club, and just started really positive on the front foot. Always an option down the right for Spurs when they were looking to attack. Really impressive on the ball, and then followed it up even when he had to shift across to the left. We've seen that this season when he's played on the left at Coventry, at Manchester United, and he looks at home there, even though he's a right-sided player. So I thought that was a really, really good showing from Jed, and he did seem to be limping come the full-time whistle, but I don't think that's a surprise at all, really.
No.
That's the most amount of minutes you played for quite some time. I was really impressed with him last night.
I think you run the risk of complacency with the likes of Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie sometimes, because they know there hasn't been any competition. I mean, you think back at Emerson Royale, you're not going to choose Emerson Royale to play in that attacking right-back role over Pedro Porro. Djed Spence was out in the cold. You're not going to choose him to play. So Pedro Porro knew that he was going to play whenever he wanted, really. Udogie the same, because Ben Davies, as reliable and as steady as he is not going to do the same job at left-back as Destiny Udogie does. Whereas we saw last night that Djed Spence is quite comfortable on the left-hand side as well, and he's done it before when he's come on for sub appearances for Spurs on the left as well. So I think Jed now does offer that bit of competition, both for Porro and for Udogie, where Ange can say, do you know what, if you're not playing very well, I'll chuck him in.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, just watching his performance last night, you're just questioning, why on earth hasn't he been playing a lot more this season for Spurs, especially in the league games? And I think he was out injured for the Man City game in the Carabao Cup, when that would have been another opportunity for him to get some much needed playing time under his belt. But I think he's in a good position now to get some minutes against Manchester United. And if he follows that up again, if he starts, he could even start against Liverpool next Sunday.
Yeah, we don't know the full extent of Destiny Udogie's injury, do we? So it could be that he has to shift over and start at left back against Man United on Thursday. And then it may become a case of, well, that you haven't played very much over the last 6-12 months or whatever it's been for Jed. So if he does play against Man United, then perhaps you bring Udogie back, give him that rest for Thursday, and then bring Udogie back in for Sunday against Liverpool. I don't know, that's Ange's call, obviously, but you've just got to be careful with throwing him in and overplaying him, given the lack of minutes that he's had over time.
Yeah, I mean, Pedro Porro was supposed to get a bit of a breather yesterday at St Mary's, just 28 minutes in total for him, with Destiny Udogie going off. Bit of a strange one with Udogie going off, because that was literally as soon as he'd played the key role in Pat Matasar's in the fourth goal of the evening. Ange was asked about him in his post-match press conference. He just said he felt a bit tight in his quad. Destiny wanted to continue, but Spurs just can't take any risks at the moment with the amount of injuries they've got. So he doesn't think it's anything significant at this stage. It was more of a precautionary change. So Ange due to speak again to the media Wednesday afternoon ahead of Thursday's Carabao Cup tie. So we'll get a bit more information from him then. But I think if it's one of those where there's any doubt over his fitness, then he shouldn't be starting, and maybe that is Jed starting left back.
Yeah, you can't risk it. The number of injuries that we've got at the minute, and the number of games we've got coming up. The right call, I think. We're at 5-0 up, particularly as well. Your kind of first choice left back saying he wants to carry on. It's kind of like, do you know what? You don't need to carry on. Let's get you off. Let's rest you up for the games that we've got coming around the corner.
Yeah, the goals continue to flow after that opener. Son scoring on 12 minutes, really well taken goal, and I think a much needed one for him as well, because he's struggled of late and just not really had that impact in the final third that you'd expect from him. And you could tell by the celebration that it certainly meant something, and maybe a bit like a weight lifted off his shoulder. And again, Spence involved in that, playing the ball to James Maddison, who puts in a really good cross, helped by a Jan Bednarek header into the direction of Son, but good finish. And, Spurs just totally on the way to 3 points once it's got that second goal.
Yeah, he's... I've been frustrated with Sonny in the last few weeks, last month or so, really, because, yeah, you're right, he's not been offering what I think we all know he can offer in the final third, and he's the captain, he's the club captain, so there is a lot of weight on his shoulders to perform as well. So yeah, he needed that, and he got, was it 2 assists in the end, as well as his goal? So yeah, really good performance from Sonny, and hopefully that'll help him kick on over the festive period, and help him lead us through a really difficult set of fixtures and into the new year, and get us moving up the table, because I think we all know that when you've got Son Heung-min on top form and leading the team, then Spurs will be doing well. I think if he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, leading from the front, then we'll be on the right path.
Yeah, I think Ange's post-match comments about Timo Werner were also a message to Tottenham's other senior players. Son, James Maddison, certainly not at the best at Ibrox in midweek, but they both followed it up, and they were both magnificent on the night, playing key roles in that win. As you said, Son with the goal, 2 assists. First assist of the night was for Dejan Kulusevski's goal. Simple finish for him, really. It was good work from Son, putting in a really inviting ball. Dominic Solanke tried to get on the end of it, but it was blocked, and then just fell kindly to Kulusevski. Coming up to Christmas, first gift of the festive season for him, really.
Very nice, wasn't it? Can I just ask you a question? You mentioned Timo Werner there, and Ange's comments. You haven't done a podcast since the Thursday night game, have you, against Rangers?
No.
I looked at that, and I thought we were pretty poor across the board on Thursday against Rangers. As you said right at the very beginning, I think we could have lost that game. Do you think Ange was making a bit of a scapegoat of Timo because he's not a Spurs player? He's only on loan, so he can not get away with it. I don't think Ange is afraid of throwing anyone under the bus, really. But because he's not a Spurs player, he picked Timo Werner out when he could have actually picked Sonny out on Thursday. He could have picked any number of players for criticism, but chose Timo Werner.
Maybe. I mean, like you said, he could have picked out a number of players because certainly for the vast majority of the contest, they were totally off the boil and just not offering anything really for Tottenham. Maybe it was one of those where, I've tried being nice, now angry Ange.
Yeah.
I'll say a few words and hopefully that'll have an impact. And I think it certainly did when you look at what happened yesterday at Southampton. I know a lot of people don't want, managers to throw players under the bus in public, say it private. And I think as well, that Ange had said, 24 hours before, when he was talking about those Christian Romero comments, that he wouldn't have a go about a player in public. But then a few hours later went and did that against Werner. But maybe he just felt it needed saying. Something needs to change here. And as I said, I think it was a message to others in the squad as well, not just Werner. And yeah, it worked. And hopefully this is just a start of things to come now for Spurs, because the results, performances have just fluctuated over the course of the season. There's been a lack of consistency there, and Spurs need to be consistent in these weeks ahead. Manchester United Thursday night in the Cup, Liverpool, Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. Going to be coming up against Wolves as well, who are going to have a new manager, so there might be a bit of a bounce there as well. So still some really tricky fixtures coming up before the year comes to an end.
It's a massive run, really, isn't it? Carabao Cup quarter-final this Thursday, then Liverpool on Sunday, then, as you say, Forest on Boxing Day, who are having a storming season. You don't want to see the inconsistent Spurs come out. You want to see a bit of consistency now over this run of form. And I was looking at it. We've had a pretty poor start to the season, bowl accounts, and we're 5 points off the top four. So it's not far away. It's very congested in that middle part of the table at the minute. But yeah, you just need to. You could fall away. You could fall away with two bad results against Liverpool and Forest, or you can put yourself right back in the mix.
Yeah, very much so. Just going back to the third goal of the evening, Kulusevski scoring from close range. Solanke looked to try and get on the end of it when it was blocked. I was having a look at the stats after the game, because I mentioned this to Ali towards the end of the game. Like, Solanke's not had a shot on goal in this game at all. So we're looking at the stats, and they have him down for one shot, and that was for Kulusevski's goal.
Right, okay.
I don't think that's a shot. Regardless of whether it's a shot or not, I think looking at the bigger picture, there's a number of games now where Spurs just aren't supplying Solanke with the chances in the final third. And I think his teammates need to do a lot more, because Solanke brings so much to this Tottenham team, and they're a much better side with him in it. I think he's one of these who is teeing up the players around him, and then the favour maybe isn't being returned to him. And in the summer, everyone was saying, sign a striker, missing piece of the puzzle in the final third. That's what was missing last season, like a replacement for Harry Kane. And I think Solanke's got, 7 goals this season? Decentish return, could probably have more. But it's just bizarre that Spurs, there's been a number of games where they're scoring like 4 against Villa, 4 against City, 5 last night, and they're putting teams to the sword. But the striker's having a lack of chances. It's bizarre.
You saw what he can do in the first few minutes against Chelsea. The movement for the ball across the box, and his movement to get away from the defender against Chelsea and put the ball in. You give him the ball, and in the right areas, he will score goals. But yeah, you're right. It was interesting that we score 5 goals last night, and your main striker doesn't have a shot apart from one. Which you say could have been a shot. Might have been a little bit of a deflection that hit goalkeeper, defender, and fell for Kulusevski. Yeah, I'm not worried. I'm not worried really about what Dom Solanke brings to the side and not scoring. But I think what you say there, he wasn't involved very much last night. I think most games we've seen this season, he does get involved, and you see his work rate, you see his effort, you see his pressing, you see how he brings other players into the game. But yeah, he wasn't involved last night. But we won 5-0, so does it matter?
No, not really. End results, the one thing you
Yeah.
want in the end. And I mean, I'm not being critical of Solanke. I just think others probably around him
Yeah.
need to be doing more
Yeah, I
to
agree.
create these opportunities on goal. And yeah, hopefully a few will arrive on Thursday night in the cup, which would be nice.
That would be very nice, yeah.
It would. Pat Matasar helping himself to another goal, has been, scoring for fun in the Europa League this season, first in the Premier League. That was some finish as well. The footwork's amazing from him.
I was just going to say the footwork.
Yeah, just to fashion that yard of space and then the really confident finish from him.
Yeah, it was. Do you know what? So when I saw it, I thought, he should have left that ball for Kulusevski. I thought the pass was better for Kulusevski, and it's just footwork to kind of one touch, left to right, and then to get a shot away. Yeah, credit to him because I didn't think it was on for him to take that, but took the game opportunity by the scruff of the neck and scored. And it's been a bit of a quiet season for Pape Sarr this year as well, really, hasn't it? And perhaps that'll kind of kickstart him a little bit.
I think initially he was out of the team, but I think since October he's come into the side and he's made himself an undroppable. I think he's been excellent this season, and that's maybe is the reason why James Maddison's been on the bench quite a bit of times this season. Certainly over the past month or so, because you've got Kulusevski in there, Pat Matasar as well, who've been absolutely fantastic. It's just good to see Sarr chipping in with the goals, because he did quite a few last season, and that's what you want from your midfielders, the ones who are your box-to-box players. You want them to be getting in the right areas of the pitch, and I think his goal last night just showed the quality that Sarr has in his locker.
That was my Christmas clock going off, by the way, if you just heard a jingle in the background. It's weird, isn't it? Like, Maddison kind of comes on in fits and starts. He had the 2 goals against Man City, and then his performances dropped a little bit, and then he's got himself 2 goals again last night. He's kind of back, and we need these players to be doing it on a more regular basis. That's the team's not performing consistently because I think certain individuals aren't performing consistently over time as well. And yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're dropping off individually or if they're dropping off as a team. It's hard to put your finger on it, really, isn't it? But yeah, Sarr coming back into it was really good to see last night. And you need him when Bentancur's suspended, when Bissouma's suspended. He's the only option, really, isn't he?
He is. I think he's been, like I said, he's really kicked on since October, because the first few months of the campaign he was in and out of the team. I think I was looking at his Premier League numbers in terms of starts, and that this season I think it's now 9 starts, 7 appearances off the bench, whereas, rewind the clock back 12 months ago, he would have pretty much started every single game in the first half of the year. So I thought it was really good from him, and as you said, Maddison as well, just getting that consistency into his game, because we saw it a month ago at Man City. Brilliant performance, 2 goals. This is at a time when he had been out of the team, and then you're thinking, here we go, Maddison's going to get back to his best, go on a bit of an upward curve, but didn't quite happen for him, in and out of the team since then. But yeah, last night, another 2 goals to his name. I think assists as well. He's played well, and now again it's just about following it up and getting more out of him, because Spurs certainly have a really good player on the hands there. But again, you're looking at the midfield. There's just so many options there at the moment. It is a really good selection dilemma for Ange to have when everyone's available. And Lucas Bergwall's made a case for himself as well last night.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, it wasn't until I watched the replays back that he was taken off balance by the defender for that second goal. It should have been a penalty if he hadn't somehow managed to score past Alex McCarthy, because he was being pulled off the pitch. I don't know which defender it was, but he was being pulled off the pitch by his shirt, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think it was Nathan Wood who was up against. Wood, who had just come on after 15 minutes, and Sulemana made way with Russell Martin making a change for Spurs, 3-0 to the good. I mean, all came from Spence and Son linking up, and a really good ball from Son with the outside of his boots playing Maddison. I thought initially looking at it, looked like there might have just been a tad too much on the ball from Son, but it was perfect in the end. And as you said, really good footwork from Maddison, and then from the tightest of angles as well to find the top corner. It was a stunning finish. And Ange was asked about both players, Son and Maddison, in his post-match press conference, and he said they were brilliant. I think he sensed they needed it tonight, and he thought they were the catalyst for that tonight, playing really good football. So, yeah, as we've already said, hopefully they can just kick on now in the weeks ahead.
Yep, we need it. We'll talk about Manchester United in a second, but as we're about halfway through the pod, I'll talk to you about the benefits of NordVPN, which, if you're not aware, where have you been if you're not aware? The Gold Guest Talk Tottenham podcast is sponsored by NordVPN, and you can use the service in a host of different ways to enhance your internet experience. NordVPN is the fastest VPN in the world, and that means there's no buffering, no lagging, and you can stream your favourite shows from anywhere in the world without your bandwidth throttling. You can use Nord to set your device to thinking it's back in the UK and just watch them as normal. Not only that, but the outlay on a NordVPN subscription is cheaper for you in the long run, and that's because you can purchase streaming services in other countries at a much cheaper rate. So, for example, you could book flights from another country, perhaps the US, or any other country you want to book flights from. There's also, security-wise, a great system for pretty much going as far as you possibly can to stop people stealing things off your device if you connect to a public Wi-Fi. It's such a clever app that you can install on any device that you've got, and it's very easy to set up, and you can get straight on moving with it. There's a whole host of other benefits from signing up to NordVPN, so why not give it a go? To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/goldguest. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the episode description box.
We'll talk about the second half now. Not as much to talk about because, as I said, Saints were better. And
I'll tell you what, credit to the fans that stayed in St Mary's as well. They really upped the tempo and upped the noise, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And I think everyone's seen the pictures in like the 27th minute or so after Spurs had made it 4-0 and all these fans walking out of the stadium. They'd quite clearly seen enough because they were beaten 5-1 as well against Chelsea just over a week ago. And I can't believe Saints ran Liverpool that close a few weeks ago in the Premier League, especially when followed up yesterday with a really poor showing in the first half. But they were better after the break. Obviously, had the words of Russell Martin ringing in his ears, and I think they had the better opportunities and goal. Kyle Walker-Peters, former Tottenham player, not too far away from forcing Fraser Forster into action. Low shot against the side netting. Tyler Diblin, who looks a really good player, might not be at Southampton too long if he continues to play the way he is. He wasn't that far away as well with a curling effort. And I mean, from a Tottenham perspective, probably only looking at Brennan Johnson's opportunity in the last minute. Timo Werner, who'd come on for about 15 minutes or so, really good low ball in from the left, and Johnson just leaning back too much on it, went over the crossbar. So I think
he was offside though, wasn't he? So,
oh, was he? Right. So I think it said on commentary just prior to that, Spurs not even had a shot on target in the second half.
No, I think Sarr had one that McCarthy saved, but that was very late on as well. But as you said at the beginning, go 5-0 up at half time. You don't often see teams go and really push it in the second half of that. It was about containment for Spurs and just seeing out the game and giving some youngsters a chance as well that you wouldn't normally have had. And just obviously got them on the bench because there's no one else. he's down to bare bones in terms of injuries and suspensions, but it was an opportunity to see a few of them, or a few more of them, because 2 of them had already started the match in Bergvall and Gray. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of supporters have been calling for Alfie Dorrington to, get some minutes in the first team for quite some time now. Even you can go back 12 months ago when Christian Romero and Mickey van der Ven were out injured, and this was at a time when Eric Dyer was at the club but wasn't getting the minutes, and Emerson Royale and Ben Davis were making up this makeshift backline of 4 fullbacks.
We did a few
Dorrington,
stories, I think, didn't we? And
Yeah,
Dorrington was one of the kind of wild card choice.
yeah, but he's just had to bide his time, really, and I think injuries not helped his cause in 2024. But yeah, really good to see him get some minutes on the bench. I think maybe could have come on a bit earlier given the scoreline, but I think he'll just be so pleased to make his Premier League debut. And again, didn't really have too much to do, and that's what you want on your debut. He was steady at the back, really strong showing when you needed to be. I think that'll have just done in the world of good. And now Spurs fans will be hoping a few more opportunities come his way. And obviously, you don't want any more injuries, but you know now if he's going to be some, that there's Dorrington there to call upon.
Yeah, it'll do him the world of good, I think, just to get those few minutes in the Premier League. And yeah, not announce himself as much, but just show Ange that he's there and he's ready and willing. I think perhaps made one wayward pass as he straight after he came on, but then after that he kind of picked up and didn't let it get to him at all. Then was quite happy playing the ball out of defence, wasn't scared by it. So yeah, really good for him to see him come on and get some minutes in the tank, because these lads are hopefully the future of the club, aren't they? So we need to see a bit more of them from time to time.
Very much so. And Will Lancashire coming on again, second Premier League appearance that he got about 10 minutes or so when he replaced Dominic Solanke. Again, this may be another time. You could have brought him on a bit earlier, just giving Solanke a bit more of a breather heading into the Manchester United game this week. But I think the good thing was Son got 45 minutes rest ahead of Thursday as well. He was hooked at the break. I mean, Ange really could have made all his changes at the break if he wanted to, because there was no way Saints were coming back from that.
No, there wasn't. But then all his changes would have been a few more teenagers, probably, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Throwing them all on at the same time. Yeah, I can see why he wouldn't. But yeah, you're right.
Southampton.
yeah, exactly. He could have given them a little bit more time. Lancashire particularly could have got a bit more time. Dorrington again also could have got a little bit more time, but yeah, I think any minutes will help them in the long run.
Yeah. What did you make of the performances then last night of Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall, two 18-year-olds, handed Premier League starts? I know it's not an ideal scenario for Spurs at the moment, and Ange pointed that out last night, like how many clubs are starting 18-year-olds in the Premier League at the moment, but thought credit to them, both very good last night.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because they were signings, and Archie Gray was 40 million all in when you count Joe Rodon. Lucas Bergvall, 8.5 million, I think, was it? Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
From Djurgården, yeah. You almost see them as senior players when they're not really. They're 18-year-olds that are coming into a new league and could be in many ways considered the same as any of the other teenagers we've got on the bench. But because they've been brought in for money, everyone expects them to hit the ground running. But yeah, I as I said right at the very beginning of the podcast, I was hoping that Lucas Bergvall might get a chance somewhere. Southampton probably a perfect opportunity for him, and turned out to be exactly the case, that it was the perfect opportunity for him, because yeah, I think he'd looked good in those two cameo roles that he'd come in. And Archie Gray's he's having to do a job, isn't he? I think one of the commentators on BT, sorry, it's not BT, it's TNT now. I think one of the commentators said, is there any position he can't play, because he seems to be playing everywhere. And I think one of them said perhaps striker is not where he wants to be, but yeah, he slotted in at centre-back. He's played there a couple of times now. He's good on the ball. He's very calm and composed. He's perfect to play Ange Postecoglou's style of football in playing from the back. He's not flustered. If he makes a mistake, he'll just get back on with it. He's got a bit of pace around him to try and get back into position as well. You can see why people are talking about him as one of the next big English talents, can't you?
Oh, yeah, I think that was clear to see when he was coming through at Leeds, and he was on the bench when he was like 15 years old. So that just shows you, the talent that he's got in his locker. And it was really last season under Daniel Farke at Leeds where he came into the team and made himself a regular. And I agree with you. I think even if you go back to Thursday's game against Rangers, there was a couple of times where, he shows his quality on the ball and he's not afraid to run out of defence with it. But there were times where he did lose it. And maybe some players after that go, right, I'm not going to do that again, put the team in danger. But nothing phases Archie. And that's the good thing about him. He just seems to be the perfect Ange Postecoglou player. And it's just good to see him getting a decent amount of minutes at the moment, because in the Premier League, prior to all the injuries, it was just a couple of minutes here and there. And as a young player, you need a bit more game time. And that's coming his way at the moment. And credit to him, credit to Lucas Bergvall, who I thought was really good last night, used the ball well. And that was the same at Rangers when he came on. He helped turn the game in Tottenham's favour to, get that equaliser. Him, Pat Matasar, I think Brennan Johnson. No, did Brennan start? Can't remember.
I can't remember. Thursday so long ago now.
Yeah. No, Brennan came on, didn't he? For Timo. And then Decky as well coming on and making that impact. And we've seen it in those cameo appearances recently that he's been coming on in the number 6 role. And with no Bissouma, no Bentancur for the game at Southampton, it just seemed the perfect time to unleash him. And yeah, really, really good performance from him. And that will have just done him the world of good. And now Ange faces a big decision on Thursday against Manchester United. Do you keep him in the team or do you bring Bissouma back in?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It depends. I don't know. I think I'd like to see Lucas Bergvall again against United. I think just the way he wants to get on the ball. Bissouma can do it as well. We know he can, but he can be so hit and miss. I'm a massive Yves Bissouma fan when he's on top of his game, but he can be so frustrating when he's not on it. He can make rash decisions like he did against Chelsea for the penalty, and he can just go missing a little bit. Bissouma, I think. Whereas with an 18-year-old Lucas Bergvall wanting to prove his worth, wanting to get on the ball, wanting to just show what he can do. I was going to say that Archie Gray's probably got the best manager in terms of playing out from the back and making mistakes, but not getting bothered by it, because Ange will probably tell him in the dressing room, "You're doing what I want you to do. Just keep doing it. Keep driving out of defence, playing the passes." Make sure they're a bit better than the couple of times, as you say, he lost the ball moving forward against Rangers. But he's got the perfect manager there to do that. And it's probably what you'll find with Lucas Bergvall as well, in terms of, and just say to him that just keep doing it. Keep wanting the ball from the defence. Keep pushing the team forward through the midfield, playing through the lines. And if you lose the ball here and there, so be it. We'll cover and we'll kind of work it out. But as long as you're doing what I ask you to do, there's no problem with making mistakes.
Yeah, exactly that. Just moving on to Thursday's game then against United in the Cup. It was a really, really good atmosphere. The previous round against City, Spurs fans that day, fantastic, played a big role in the team. Beating City, and I think the atmosphere has just gone to be, even better this time with a spot in the semi-finals up for grabs. I think coming into the game in confident mood after hitting Southampton for 5, it's only gone to boost the team. And yeah, going to be really interesting, because I don't think United had been that great since Amarim's appointment, but then they went and won 2-1 at City yesterday with that fantastic winner from Amid Diallo. So
they weren't that great.
Now I've heard that. Just a bit of a smash and grab, really. In the end,
yeah, it was. Yeah, how they got that result against Man City, I don't know. Well, Man City didn't go and kill the game off, and looked vulnerable, obviously, as they have done in the last couple of months, Man City. But yeah, United weren't great for 90 minutes against Man City. That'll give them a boost, those 2 late goals, and turning it around, obviously, which is what Spurs are going to be a little bit concerned about. But no, I didn't see a lot of Man. I don't want to jinx it, obviously, but I didn't see a lot of Man United against City yesterday to really worry me going into Thursday. I know Spurs have been inconsistent, and I should be worried whenever we play a match, and I am worried whenever we play a match. But I'd like to think that we can, on home soil, we can do the business and get into the semi-final, because you're right, they haven't been great under Amorim since he's there, and yes, yesterday against Man City I don't think they were great either, but there's just that little 1 or 2% they might have got from turning that game around against their big rivals, obviously, that they can carry into Thursday. And it'd be interesting to see what sort of team Amorim puts out, how seriously he takes it.
Quarterfinals of the cup, surely you take
know.
it seriously. You just go strongest team.
You'd have thought so,
It's
yeah.
a piece of silverware, and
Yeah.
United have done well in the cups past 2 years. Won the FA Cup, won the League Cup the year before that. Yeah, but I mean, for Spurs, just again replicate what you did against Southampton. The first 10 minutes against Chelsea last week, just get a fast start, try and get that early goal, and then just go from there. Really,
more than one early goal. 2 wasn't enough against Chelsea. Five was enough yesterday, but.
What are you expecting then in terms of the team? Jed keep his place in there?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Ange comes back with in terms of Destiny's situation. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jed playing at left back, I don't think, with Pedro at right back on Thursday, and giving Destiny a rest for Sunday's game against Liverpool. I don't know where we're at with the centre backs at the minute. What was he asked about any injuries coming back after last night's game?
No, I don't think he was asked about the injuries after last night's game. I asked him on Friday ahead of the game about Romero and Van der Ven. He said it's still a bit too early, really, to get a time frame on when they'll be back. Ben Davies is going to be back before the new year at some point, but you'd imagine this is still going to be too early for Ben to make his return. I think it'll pretty much be the team that played Southampton. The only question marks you've got is, as you said, if Jed starts, is it in place of Destiny Udogie, or is it in place of Pedro Porro? And then the other question is, does Yves Bissouma come back in? But there's no reason to change it after you've been scoring 5 goals at Southampton.
No, exactly. The interesting thing, I think, will be, I mentioned earlier in the pod, obviously, about Jed and lack of minutes that he's played over 6-12 months. If he then starts again against Man United and impresses again, then he's got a decision to make as can he play 3 games in quick succession, and can he play a big one against Liverpool on Sunday, or does Udogie or Porro come back in for that? It's a tough one, considering Ange has not had many decisions to make because they've all been made for him by injuries and suspensions. That one with Jed and the one with Lucas Bergvall, I think will be something for him to think about going into the next couple of matches.
Definitely, and the good thing is we're now getting to this busy festive period where there's games every few days. There's definitely going to be opportunities for both Jed and Lucas to start, and then there's the FA Cup at Tamworth as well, early January as well. Hopefully, a semi-final in the Carabao Cup to come. So, there's going to be opportunities there for players in the next few weeks. Just fingers crossed, no more injuries, because otherwise it is just going to be the academy players getting a game the way it's going at the moment.
We had our Arsenal writer on our call this morning, didn't we, Sam? Because they dropped points again in the title race, thinking that the title race might be over. And Kaya was talking about the quarterfinal, and I think Arteta probably needs to win a trophy. He probably needs to make sure he's got something in the locker after how he's been in the league. And sat there aghast on our call, thinking, how dare you talk about wanting to win a trophy to a Tottenham fan who hasn't seen one for how many years? It's unbelievable. So we need a semi-final, please, and a final and a trophy at some point this season, I think.
Yeah. Or the other Carabao Cup quarter-final ties: Arsenal against Crystal Palace, Newcastle against Brentford, and then Southampton at home to Liverpool. All 3 of those games on Wednesday. Spurs Man United on Thursday. Right, before we call it a day, a bit of an important announcement to make regarding the Fans Footballer of the Year for 2024. You can now vote for your Tottenham Hotspur Player of the Year. There's 4 players in the running for the coveted gong. This time it is Son, Dane Kulusevski, Brennan Johnson, and Mickey van der Ven. You've got a week left to vote on the football.london website. We'll put it out on our social channels as well. Winners due to be revealed on Monday the 23rd. Son won the award last year. Does he do it again?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if he should win for this year. But we had a conversation off air, didn't we, about how we would vote. And if you look at that, I think the one player that we miss most when he's not around is probably Mickey van der Ven. But has he had a stellar 2024 from beginning to end with the injuries that he's had? Don't know. Kulusevski's been excellent at the start of this season, the best player Spurs have had at the start of this season. But as you said off air, did he have a great end to last season? Probably not. I don't know. I'd probably, we've spoken about it, it's recency bias, isn't it? I'd probably go with Kulusevski because of how he's been this season. But you would go a different way, wouldn't you?
I think if you're looking at it as the year on a whole, I think it'd have to be Brennan Johnson or Mickey van der Ven. I think Johnson's contributed with the numbers on a regular basis, Tottenham's top scorer this season. And I think it was after his goal against Brentford in late January in the 3-2 win, he really started to contribute in the final third in terms of those assists and the goals. I know a lot will point to games when he goes missing at times, doesn't offer enough, but he's contributing with those numbers. I think Mickey van der Ven, he came back at the start of the year from that injury. I think it was maybe against Manchester United in the 2-2 when he made his return. He's been consistent as ever, contributed with 2 big goals as well for Spurs last year towards the end of last season. I think that was Nottingham Forest when he found the top corner from the edge of the area, and then in the win against Burnley as well. And prior to the injury that he picked up at the end of October, again, he's been just really consistent at the back and shown what he can do going forward. I mean, look at those assists against Everton and Manchester United as well with those marauding runs. So for me, I think when you're looking at the year as a whole, it's probably between those two. I think Decky's been superb this season, but I'd say the first half of the year wasn't at his best. Son, over the course of the year, I'd say he struggled at times, but I think we had this problem last year in terms of coming up with 4 players. And then again, it was some had a really good either end to the year or a really good start to the year, but it's not up to us. It's up to the fans to vote for their winner, and it'll be next week when we find out who has won the top prize.
Yep, we've got plenty of content around it on football.london. So yes, just go and seek it out and make sure you have your vote on who should get it.
Yeah. Right, we'll call it a day for today's latest episode of Gold and Guest Talk Tottenham. Thank you as ever for tuning in, and just keep with us at football.london for all your latest Tottenham news. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/Gold Guest. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box.